Elder Smith here. Now, today I'd like to continue in Genesis where we left off, and we are now in the 30th chapter. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. And she said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. See? Multiple wives. One's being loved more than the other. Now, and it's the one that's being loved more isn't bearing any children, but she's becoming jealous regardless of that. And that's causing a whole mess of problems right now. Issues here that don't need to be happening. Issues that wouldn't really happen if the marriage had just been one man and one woman. A partnership, not multiple wives, just one wife. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead? Who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she will bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Now, if you notice, Sarah, Abraham's wife, did the same thing. She wasn't bearing any children. She got impatient. She gave Abraham her handmaid, Hagar, and she bare children, she bore a child, which was Ishmael. But that caused even more problems than it solved. And yet, you got Rachel, who's repeating the same mistake. She's growing impatient, so she's giving her handmaid to Jacob, just as Sarah did to Abraham. History is repeating itself. And she gave him Bilhah, and her handmaid to wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her unto Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. Now, just to remind all of you from the last video, these names are matching the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the beginning. Things are being set up now. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou not take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee for my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night, and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, God hath endowed me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. So now, after bearing children from the handmaids and his first wife, God is now blessing Rachel by opening her womb, so that she will now conceive. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto my own place, to my own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service, which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if thou have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, Appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, Thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was a little which thou hast before I came, and it is now increased unto the multitude, for the Lord hath blessed thee since the coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said, Thou shalt not give me anything if thou wilt do this thing for me. I will give again feed unto thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep. And the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteous answer be for me in time to come, when it shall come to pass for my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day all the he-goats that were ring-straked, spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set a 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel chestnut tree, and pilled white strakes in them, and made the white appear made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks and the gutters, and in the watering troughs. And when the flocks came to drink, and that they should conceive, and they came to drink, and the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth the cattle, ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. Now, if you notice, God's working in this. The wages of tearing for a little bit is for him to gain the flocks, but he made an agreement that those who were spotted and speckled and ring-straked, those flocks would go to Jacob. God's blessing him so that the majority of the flocks that are reproducing now are coming out ring-straked, spotted, and speckled. He's gaining more than he thought he was going to gain originally. God is blessing him right now. God is at work in this. And Jacob did separate the lambs and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flocks of Laban. And he put his own flocks by himself, and he put them into Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle and all the gutters, and that they may conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so that the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger were Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. This shall be it. You see, God is blessing Jacob. God first stepped in and changed Jacob's life, established a relationship between himself and Jacob, and now he's blessing Jacob. So before Jacob departs, Jacob's coming out of this a rich man. He's getting more out of this than what Jacob thought he was getting. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, the study, the show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word, put on the whole armor of God, and fight the good fight.